Hello and welcome to your weekly bite of the electric car apple from the team at electrifying.com. Today we're going to be talking about the all-new Skoda Elroq, prices which have been revealed for the Hyundai Inster, and of course, as always, we'll be dipping into the postbag to hear from you. Welcome to the Kilowatt Half Hour. I'm Ginny.
I'm Vicky.
And I'm Tom.
Well, after a few technical struggles, and yes, I know the camera is really bad for me today, but that's a very long story. We're here. I'm sorry. I've had technical issues with just about everything so far this morning. But should we talk about cars instead?
We could do, but is this the debut of your new background, Ginny?
No, I think we saw that. We saw that before. That's my padded wall. I've not painted anything, so don't ask in the comments below because it's still not painted. But I'm slowly turning my wall into a padded room. So when all the technical stuff like my bloody webcam starts to drive me mad, I can just go and bang my head on the wall there.
Go and scream in there and nobody can hear you.
That's it, Vicky. That's it. Anyway, apologies now for the camera. Please don't moan at me. I'll try and get it sorted for next week. What should we talk about? Tom and Vicky, should we talk about the Elroq?
Yes. Yeah, well,
okay.
The Elroq, finally we've seen it. I saw it a while ago, but we've been under embargo, and the prices have come out. Starts at £31,000. It's a sort of baby brother for your favourite car, the Enyaq.
Really? Do you think that's my favourite car?
I think you've mentioned it a couple of times, yeah. and kind of as you'd expect from a Skoda, it adds up very well on paper. I personally think it's a little generic looking. I don't think it's most exciting. But I had a go in a prototype while I was there out in Amsterdam, and it's really good. It's very me, by which I mean it's very nice riding. It's not concentrating on the sporty. It's not going to be very good around the Nürburgring, and I don't care about that anymore because I'm old and I want a car that rides nicely and is efficient. And this ticks all those boxes. What do you think? Do you think it's boring looking, or do you quite like it?
I always think it's really hard until you see a car in the metal. And I haven't. I've seen it on video and I've seen it in photographs, but I think until you actually see it, it's really hard to make opinion. I didn't love the Enyaq, I've got to say, off first glance. I was kind of like, oh, okay. But it's one of those cars that, as you know, I think all of us on the team love the Enyaq. It's a great car. So I agree. It's not the most exciting looks, but I think it looks nice. And I think, again, until I've seen it in the metal, I'm going to reserve judgment. Vic, what are your thoughts on it? Have you seen it actually, or just sends me pictures?
I have. Yeah. So I've read it. I haven't seen. Sorry, no, I haven't seen the car in the metal, but I've seen all about it, and I'm with you that it does make a difference when you actually see a car. But talking about it, I'm just trying to think of what car in that category, or even in the sort of slightly bigger family SUVs, does actually stand out, because they are all pretty generic these days, aren't they? So I don't know. It's a bit tricky.
I think Kia EV3 does. And the reason I say that is I remember we've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I sent you some photographs, Tom, just before I went out to do the first look video of it. And you're like, is that the concept? Do you remember? And it looked very close to the concept. I do think the EV3 looks nice. I think the EX30, although it's a polarising car for a lot of reasons, and it's obviously had its challenges, I do think it looks nice. I think it's a really nice piece of design. So, but I agree. I think there generally is there's a lot of competition in this part of the market, and there is quite a lot of bland, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything that I hate the look of, but there's not much that I think, God, I really like the look of that in the, in those classes, I have to say, which is a bit of a shame, isn't it? I think, I don't know. I've actually been on the Ford Explorer launch. Obviously Explorer's, above Elroq, but talking about good looking SUVs, I hear on the rumour mill that Ford is going to finally reveal the electric Puma in the next month or so.
Oh, okay.
I don't know anything about it. I've not seen pictures of it. This is just something I've heard. So that is one to look out for, because that's going to be, I think they need it, and I think it's going to be, I hope that will be a good one. So we'll see what that's going to be like.
Is it though? Is it something to get excited about, or is it just something to dread? Because it's going to be the Capri all over again, and I'm going to end up just feeling. I'll just end up feeling a bit gaslighted. I feel like Ford gaslighted me over the Capri. They took me there to look at the Capri. It's a Capri. I went to Germany. It wasn't a Capri.
I think the Capri is going to be a hard sell for Ford. I actually, I'm not allowed to talk about it, but anyway, yeah, we all know that's had a bit of a tricky birth, hasn't it? But I have driven the Explorer. It's actually really good.
Yeah.
For one, would have it over an ID4. Drives really nicely.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay. Okay.
so I think the Explorer is decent. So as long as PCP deals are good enough, we can talk about that another day, then I think the Explorer could be good. And I think Puma, because it's going to be, it's going to look very different to the Capri and the Explorer, isn't it? It's different platform and all of that stuff. So fingers crossed, that could be an interesting one in terms of the Elroq competition and this kind of stuff. But Skoda, you can't really go wrong, can you? They're just so good at getting the practicality and the value and all of that stuff. So, yeah.
Well, one thing I really liked on it is they've got a net on the bottom of the parcel shelf to put your cable in, so that if you've got a load of stuff in your boot, you don't have to like lift it up and get it into to get your cable. It's just there. It's so clever. I don't know why nobody's done it before.
It's really clever. And I love the fact that it's still got a brolly and still has an ice scraper. Wouldn't be a Skoda without the ice scraper. And it'll probably still have the little clip on the windscreen for you to put your parking ticket behind. Has it got that?
Yeah, we'll have, yeah.
Oh, they're just the nice continuation things of life, aren't they, that make me feel a bit safe and secure. But we do need to say a very big sorry to Skoda, don't we? Skoda, we're very sorry. We're most sorry to Pietro, who is the lovely head of communications for Skoda in the UK. I think we gave Pietro a heart attack on, was it Tuesday evening? Yes, Dean SH8506, who messaged us on YouTube to say, did someone just break the NDA on the Elroq video that was just uploaded? Laugh emoji, laugh emoji, laugh emoji. We may have done that. We in our defence, it wasn't quite as simple, and we didn't break the embargo willfully, did we, Tom?
No, we didn't. No. So I had a piece of paper saying it was 6 o'clock, so we put it up at 6 o'clock. But that had been superseded
by a different time. So although Tom had signed an NDA at that time, so it was a bit of human error, and we apologise profusely to lovely Pietro. Anyway, we like the car a lot, so you can't complain because Tom gave it a good review. What else has been going on this? So Insta prices. Should we move to that?
Excuse me. Sorry.
Okay. For those of you who haven't seen it, the Hyundai Inster. And yes, we do still wish it was called the Casper. So this is, of course, based on this small city car, the Casper, which they already sell in Korea. So prices have come out for that. It's going to start at £23,495. It's got two trim levels, the 01 and the 02. 01's got 42 kilowatt hour battery and has 203 miles of range, which is bad for that money. 02 is a 49 kilowatt battery, which gives 229 miles of range. And that bigger battery gets a faster DC charging, 85 kilowatts, and that drops to 73 for the entry level model. But they both take around half an hour to charge, up to 80%. And it's got a lot of nice standard kit. It's got an 11 kilowatt onboard charger, a battery heating system, a heat pump is standard, and you can opt for vehicle to load as well. Now, I think we were all hoping it would be a little bit less than that. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, it's a bit pricey, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it's got some nice bits, it's got some nice kit, and it's got that long warranty, of course. But
warranty's great, yeah.
I did think, it was going to be a bit lower.
And I also think they might have issues with small little car that was we did our first drive on in the last few hours, in fact, virtually, and that's the Renault 5, which is going to be priced pretty much the same, and you can sit 5 people in it. I mean, that'll be a proper squeeze, but you can get 5 in, whereas the Inster is 4 person only, of course. And I don't know, I love the Inster. As you know, I know you do as well, Ginny. I think it's such a clever little thing. I love the looks of it and the interior, and I think it will still do well because it's an ingenious little car. But it sort of does need to be kind of $3,000 less, doesn't it? It still sort of needs to start at 20. So that it's undercutting the 5 and is more in line with the smaller battery things like the EC3.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, I think.
I mean, let me just run you through the finance deals on it, because I don't know if that makes it less appealing or more appealing. I've just seen these, actually. So that entry level comes on a PCP offer of £249 a month. So that's if you're putting £4,000 down, 8,000 miles per annum, and that's over a 48-month contract.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that sort of made me go, oh, okay. I don't know, Tom, you're much more across all of these comparables than I am. What do you think of that?
Yeah, well, if I look at my lease deals, which are generally 6 months down, which would work out at maybe £2,000, so half that, I think you'd be talking about some quite tasty stuff for that. So, I mean, a Corsa would be less than that, for example. And would you have a Corsa or an Insta? I mean, the Insta's new and exciting, but
Yeah.
the Corsa seems like more of a car to me. You'd probably get an Astra. You'd certainly get a Leaf. What other sort of things? Citroen EC4 would be less than that. So I don't know. It's a tough call, isn't it? And 4 years is a bit of a long schlep as well on a PCP.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I just really love what the car is all about. I think it's really clever. I think they've done some really nice stuff. So you got a lot of good tech in it, haven't you? A lot of driver assistance stuff, like even in the standard model.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
mean, I was going
weird.
to say,
So
I
go on.
think one of the points is that the Insta. I agree with Tom that all of those cars, Corsa and Astra and all of that, you're getting a bigger car and arguably more of a grown-up car. But then I think with the Insta is so much more interesting. I think it is a car that you would arguably go for because you just really like the Insta. I
Yeah.
can see it doing that. It has got that kind of appeal to it, which is kind of important. And back to the Renault 5 again, that too is a bit of a I
Yeah.
just want it because it's so cool car, isn't it? That's the thing. That's what I love about these new cars we're seeing now. EV3 too, to an extent, all that kind of stuff. We're finally seeing the cars come in that people actually want just because they look great and they're
And
interesting.
it's so true, that, Vicky. And also I think in a way too, I feel a bit sorry for Insta, because suddenly we've had this influx of cars all in the kind of around, in the early 20s, haven't we? Which we just didn't have. If I look back only 18 months ago, Tom, we were regularly doing, stories about the handful of electric cars that you could buy under £30,000. There was
Yeah.
nothing like this. So I think it's just suddenly become a very competitive part of the market. But I do agree with you, Vic. Just an adorable looking car. And I think it is one of those cars as well that when you see it in the metal, it does look really cute. It
It's
really
so
does.
cute, yeah.
Yeah,
It
it
really
does.
is. It's lovely.
Yeah, it does. But yeah. Tom, Renault
It does
5.
remind me a bit of a Suzuki Ignis. Sorry, Ginny. I was
Oh,
going
yeah.
to say it does remind me a bit of a Suzuki Ignis, which I think is a great, as a compliment, but because I love the Ignis, but it is cool. It's one of those cars you kind of want to just put it in your pocket and take it with you. It's lovely. It's very sweet.
Tom, does it grab you, the Insta?
No,
Does it?
no, it
No.
doesn't. Well,
No.
I've got a thing, haven't I, about the rear three quarters on modern Hyundais. I think it just looks as though it's been crashed into a bit, and it's got that as well.
Oh, Tom, you be a bit grumpy about them.
I'm a bit grumpy about modern Hyundais. Yeah, I think lots of people disagree with me, don't they? Someone got very upset about me saying the Kona was ugly from the back. So perhaps I ought to keep quiet, but that's my opinion.
Do you think you just get a bit grumpy with modern life sometimes, Tom?
Well, there is that, but I mean, things like the Renault 5 I think are very cool, but I suppose that's retro, isn't it? And the Kia EV3 I think is great. So
Okay,
I
well,
don't know,
good.
I just
Well, we even though Vicky and I have both driven that car, we're not the Insta, we're not allowed to talk about it yet, but there will be a first drive video and review coming soon at some point when we know when the embargo is, because we wouldn't want to break that, would we, Vicky?
No,
but
gosh, no, no, no.
we are allowed to talk about the Renault 5, aren't we? Finally,
We
because you've
are,
driven it.
finally.
So please
I've
tell
driven
us,
it.
is it good?
Oh God, yes, go
Oh
on.
my God, it's so good. I want one so badly. I really, really have got that kind of like itch for like, oh God, I really want to, can I sort of figure this out? What can I sell to get one of these? It's wonderful. I really like it. I think, it looks fabulous in pictures, in the metal, on the road, because it's not huge. A lot of people, I put some pictures on socials and a lot of people are like, oh, it's massive, isn't it? It's not. It's under 4 meters long. It's a small car. So it's usefully smaller than, say, a Polo. So it is a small car, and yet it's pretty decent inside, and it drives really well. It's not a hot hatch. I think some people are going to expect it to be a bit more zingy. I would say that, for instance, a Mini Electric is a bit more like overtly heavy steering, really quick. And the Renault does have quick steering, and it's got really nice turn into corners, but it's a bit more city car. So it's got skinny
Yeah.
little tyres. It's not massively like rapid, but it's just powerful enough, and I really like that because it means that it feels immediate enough to be fun, but it's also absolutely spot on just for pottering around. It's got a really nice little tight turning circle. The ride's decent. I'd love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's spot on. I think Renault have really got a proper winner on their hands there. Great.
Yeah, I'm off to drive it next week. You definitely got the
I know.
long straw on that one, but I can't wait. I am definitely giddy with excitement about driving it.
Well, yeah, I mean, without wishing to, go too promo on it, obviously you can read the review on the Renault 5 on electrifying.com right now. So go and have a look at it. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled because your video, I can't wait to see what you think of it. I'm really excited to see what you think because I know you like it, but I'm really in love with it now. And like I said, about the Insta as well, I'm so pleased that it's a really affordable. Well, I mean, Renault haven't confirmed prices yet. They've sort of given us a bit of a steer, but could change. But I'm pretty sure it's going to start from somewhere around 23 grand, which is great.
It does.
And it's an aspirational car at a really good price, So, yeah, love it.
Exciting. Okay, Tom, what have you got in the news for us? What's caught your eye this week?
Well, the big news, I mean, it's not big news in the big scheme of things, but it's a big seller and it's a Tesla. So obviously it's quite big news from that. But they've deleted the entry-level Model Y and replaced it with a new one, which is slightly more expensive. I think it's $3,000 more, but it has a longer range, so it's got the bigger battery. So it is now 46,990 or £349 a month on a PCP. It's got 373 miles range.
Ooh, what's that, about 80 miles more than it used to have?
90 miles, I think.
Wow.
Is that right?
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a decent chunk and it's really efficient. It does over 4 miles per kilowatt hour, according to their figures. And you kind of forget about the Model Y and its general figures. It does 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds. And it's got loads of space in it. You kind of forget that it's basically an amazing feat of engineering, isn't it, to get that sort of performance and that sort of efficiency out of a car that size. So yeah, that's going to be number one again, no doubt. And now they're built in Germany, and I think they always used to be built in China for the UK market at least.
Yes, I think you're right.
And I think we get a new colour as well, which is exciting. For you just see you get bored of seeing the same colour Teslas, don't you? And there's a grey now.
White or black Teslas everywhere. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And how much extra does that cost, Tom?
Well, yeah, I think it's £1,000, isn't it? I think that if you want the red, people have really splashed out when they have a red Tesla because that's like £2,000, isn't it?
£2,000.
Oh God!
I just don't understand that. I really don't. I just get it. But I looked at instantly. Just go back to the Insta. They do a matte color, that matte green. Have you seen that? That I absolutely love. And I just looked, and that's like an £800 extra, which is a lot for a car in that kind of price bracket, isn't it? But it does look great.
It is.
I
think the problem is people, well, not problem, but people, when they're doing it on monthlies, they go, oh, well, it's only, 20 quid a month extra or something, and it looks great, doesn't it? So it always comes down to that, basically. I actually saw a kind of metallic maroony Tesla Model Y recently in the showroom that's quite near me, and I thought it looked really cool, just because, as you say, it's different. But, I mean, the Model Y with that battery, although I wish they would actually tell us what battery's in it, because they don't ever tell you, do they? And that really frustrates me. Why are we still at the point where we're not, it's not some kind of massive secret.
Yeah.
Anyway, so apart from being frustrated at Tesla's sort of not telling us the basics, yeah, great. I mean, it's going to be a big seller, like you say. The Model Y is just does the job, doesn't it? And it's always really well priced on monthly. I'm not surprised it sells so well, really.
You were a nightmare, Vicky, in the run-up to Christmas when you were a kid, not knowing what you were getting. Vicky doesn't like a secret.
I bet. I know, but maybe it's just me, but I just find it frustrating that they'll give you the range and stuff, and I'm there. But I mean, I'm a big geek about this stuff, aren't I? I want to know what the battery chemistry is. I want to know what size it is. I want usable and total. I want to know all of that stuff. That to me is like Tesla. To me, is like Mercedes saying, "Here's the new AMG, but we're not going to tell you how big the engine is," sort of thing. It's literally like that. It really frustrates me. So.
And also, I think it comes back to it's just a control thing, isn't it? It's just a whole kind of, we don't need to tell you that because we're Tesla. We just, that's us. We don't need to give you that information. But yeah. Interesting. Right, what else? Price drops, Tom. There's we did say there'd be some good price drops as we got towards the end of the year, and we are now in the final 3 months of the year, and we're starting to see some really big price drops, aren't we?
Yeah, so Vauxhall's done some careful realignment of its prices on Corsa and Astra. So they did something which was that they introduced a special edition base model called the Yes, which made them cheaper, and now they've realigned the rest of the range too, because we've seen these crazy sort of lease deals about on Corsa and Astra, and now they've just said that, right, okay, we get it. The list price needs to be lower too. So the design trim is now 29,045, and the ultimate is 33,040, which is £4,150 less than it used to be.
That's a lot, isn't
So
it?
that is a lot. So the Astra, the same, has gone down to 3495 for the design, which is 3865 down, so 3,800 quid down. So
Wow.
about time, but I don't think anybody actually went in and paid list price for them anyway, did they?
No, I'm sure they didn't, and they need to do, because as we've been saying, it's that kind of price bracket that's suddenly getting loads of cars coming into it, along with, of course, that bracket around the sort of the Renault 5, Inster, that kind of thing. So I think it'll be really interesting when the ID2 finally arrives next year, if it ever does, just where that sits now. Because when you first went to see that, it was like, oh my goodness me, it's going to be £22,000 and it's a little electric car, and hallelujah. And now it's just like, oh well, that'll be another one then.
Yeah, but isn't that great that this year is the year of the sub £25,000 electric car, and the sub £25,000 electric car that people actually want and could live with, and that have a decent range? It's wonderful. I'm so happy that these cars are finally here. It's great.
It is wonderful. Right, come on then, Barnard. What's your Barnard's bargain of the week?
Well, it's been an interesting week in the used car market, because CAP, the people who do the valuations and watch the industry very carefully, have said that EV prices are on the rise, which we said they would be. We said we'd buy now because they're going to go up. And especially Leaf and i3. So the cheaper electric cars are starting to go up by sort of a 500 quid on a 4-year-old car. But I found in the used car section of electrifying.com a VW Up, which I really like that car. That and the Seat Me and the Skoda. What was the Skoda?
The Me? No, Citigo.
Citigo. That was
Seat
it.
Me and the Skoda Citigo.
Yeah, I really like those cars. I thought they were great. I thought they were free of bings and bongs, and they had some nice old-fashioned things like a handbrake, but they were just efficient and comfortable and smart. So one with 4,000 miles on the clock for 9,295 quid.
Wow,
I thought that was
that's a
in
pretty
that kind of Bugatti blue as well.
Yeah,
it's a good little electric run around that, isn't it?
Really
yeah.
good.
Or on a lease, and bear in mind that I do 6 months deposit, 8,000 miles a year on a 3-year deal, always to keep everything the same thing. The Buzz has gone below 500 quid, so 471.49. I mean, that's not a cheap car, and you can get some other nice stuff for that, including an ID7 Tour if you want a big Volkswagen electric car.
Yes.
But it's the first time I've seen a Buzz kind of go into the bargain section, if you like.
Wow. Have you told Mike yet? Electrifying Mike?
I did send it to him, and I don't think he was very pleased that I'm sending him things that might cost him £471 a month.
He has a point, doesn't he, where if it reaches a certain point, he's having one. I don't think we're quite there yet. A really good email messaging, actually, on YouTube from Royo. I can't say. How do you pronounce half of these YouTube handles that people have? Royo Banank 9868. I'm so sorry, I'll have made a complete mess of that. But it was basically, Royo is basically saying, can we put links to the bargain lease deals that we found, please? And we can actually do that. So we'll get Manos, our lovely Manos, to put a little link in the top of the screen, and we can link to, for example, the VW Up deal that you've just mentioned, and we can have a link through to the bargain lease deals as well. So we can do that.
The lease deals are on the website as well, normally, if I remember to update them.
They are, but if we put the link in, that could take you through to that, couldn't it? So
good
yes,
plan.
But if you haven't done that, head over to electrifying.com. And where do you find it, Tom, the lease deals?
I think if you do deal, if you put deal into the search thing, it will come up.
We're so organised. Just put lease deal into the search bar. But yeah, they're all there. All right, we've got a couple of car buying questions. Okay, should I do Chris Durham? So Chris has emailed in, and if you do want to email us, if you're not watching on YouTube and you're listening to this, you can drop us an email, podcast@electrifying.com. So Chris is after a bit of advice. That's what we're here for, Chris. Tesla Model 3 salary sacrifice going back in March next year and looking to place an order for a replacement. At the moment, it's just me and the wife. But I have the possibility of starting a family over the next year, so I want something practical. That is exciting. Narrowed it down to 3 options. A Kona, approximately 400 salary sacrifice cost. Hyundai Ioniq 5, but the new facelifted version, because that's just arrived. That's about a 500 quid salary sacrifice. Kia EV3, price to be confirmed, as it's too new to quote for. Vicky, any thoughts on those 3?
Well, my thoughts are that, especially if you are starting a family, a big boot is absolutely critical. I would go for the Ioniq 5 personally.
Would
And also, it's a car
you?
that makes you. I would go for the Ioniq 5 because it's just that it's a lot bigger inside than an EV3 or the Kona. And I genuinely think, I mean, I've only got one kid, and yet I fill a car easily, a big car when we go away on holiday, and when you've got little kids and you've got buggies and all that stuff. So I mean, I have to say, I'm a big proponent of a large car if you've got a family, but there are loads of reasons why you might not want a big car. So I mean, there's not a bad car there. So ultimately, it may come down to what deal you can get. But I would personally go for the 5 because I do have a real soft spot for the 5 as well. To be honest.
Okay, that's interesting. And actually, if Chris wants a really big car and he's in that and that's his kind of budget, he could always get himself a Buzz for £471.49, and then you've
Or
got
an
would have enough
loads of
ID7
stuff in.
room.
Tourer.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Get
what?
the ID7. Get the ID7 Tourer. You get much better
Yeah.
range. You've got a much bigger boot. It's fabulous. That would be an amazing family car.
Tom,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on those
Well,
3?
I mean, I haven't driven the EV3, but I know you think it's great, so I think that's the one to go for. But I think if the Ioniq 5 is only a little bit more, I agree with Vicky that it's a bigger, more sensible car for a family.
Yeah. I wouldn't be making any decisions yet, Chris, if you can, and if your Model 3 is not going back until March next year, we're going to get the monthly figures through on the EV3 soon. I would have thought it's got to be fairly imminent. So I would hang on to see what they come in at, I think, before you made a decision on that. And just to keep Vicky happy, if you could add the ID7 Tourer onto that list as well.
I'm not being
tell you
paid
what,
by
actually,
them. Honestly, I just really like the ID7.
She loves that car.
if
That's your
he's used to a
Enyaq, isn't it?
Tesla, if
Is
he's
what,
used to a Tesla, that Model Y would be blinding, wouldn't
Yeah.
it?
I was going to
Yeah.
say that. I mean, a Model Y
Yeah.
it's so spacious inside. It is a great family car. So yeah, that is well worth looking at.
You get a lot of prams and boots and nappy bags in the back of that Model Y for
Yeah.
sure. Okie doke. Right. Let's have a
Do you
look.
want me to do the next one?
Yeah, you do the next one. Go on.
From Chris Seville, who says, I have a question about the Fisker Ocean. Now they've filed for bankruptcy, would you buy one? They seem a lot of car for not a lot in EV terms. Thank you. Well, I don't think you could really, could you? We can't recommend buying one because, I mean, it is a lot of car. It's probably worth more in parts, and that's a big old battery for, 20 grand, I think they are now. But there's no warranty, and things like, if you got a crack in the windscreen, could you get another one? Will you be able to insure it?
Yeah.
The software, which of course runs everything, if the software, there's a glitch in it or it crashes, you can't call up and complain. I can see why you might want one. I can see why you might take the risk, but I'm not going to recommend it to anyone.
Vicky?
What do you think, ladies?
I'm with you. I mean, I'm also, I completely understand why you'd be looking at it. I've looked at them as well and thought, it is a lot of car for the money. But whenever you're buying any car, it's always about, the longer term, what the ownership costs, what are going to be the pitfalls, where's the backup if you've got an issue, who do you go to, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm with Tom in that it's very tempting, but I don't think I could recommend it really. I don't think I would do it personally. So
Yeah, and I was just checking actually, because at the back of my mind, I remember a few months ago a recall, and I just looked that up, and yes, they did have a software update for a software recall for about 11,000 cars back in June when they were still trading. So that's not boding well either. And I do think it was a good car. I mean, I really didn't agree with, I think it Marcus Brownlee who put the review on his YouTube channel. He still calls it the worst car he's ever driven. I mean, I've driven that car and it's definitely not the worst car I've ever driven. I think it's really sad what has happened. I think it's a great looking car, but as much as I've done exactly the same, Vic, I was looking at them only a few days ago and going, oh God, if you could, it's such a lot of car for the money, but it's just not worth the risk. It really isn't.
No.
So
No,
that's
I
no.
agree.
It's a resounding no from the three of us, but obviously let us know if you go for it though. Let's move on and do a welcome to the EV Club. Who are we welcoming to the EV Club this week, Vic?
So this week we have got Michael Fields 8981. So welcome to the club. Right, on the 20th of September, I picked up my first ever EV. I'm leasing a Tesla Model Y. I sold my diesel C-Max and used the funds from that as my down payment. I'm paying £204 per month, 2 years for a rear drive car. One pedal driving, love it. Good. We like the one pedal driving at Electrifying too, I have to say. I'll never go back to ICE. I've deliberately gone for the worst route possible to prove the naysayers wrong. He doesn't have a zappy home charger yet. That's next year. I'm on a 2 kilowatt granny charger. So here's my trick. My solar array can comfortably charge my Tesla for free. Doing the maths, that works out to be 0 pence per month, obviously. Yes, we know what free means. I need the sunshine to shine. I haven't even switched to an overnight tariff yet. I'd get that sorted as soon as you can, because the solar's definitely going to start dropping, isn't it, soon? I'm deliberately trying to prove that the benefits of an EV exceed my deficits. I love my EV. By the way, the lease is costing me less than the depreciation and the service plan that I was in. The cost of diesel monthly is more than any electricity costs. EVs are just so serene to drive. So I think it's safe to say that Michael Fields is a fan. There you go. So enjoy your Model Y, Michael. Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club. And if you want to shout out because you have joined the EV Club over the last few weeks, just either drop us an email to podcast@electrifying.com, or you can leave your comment in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube, and we'll give you a shout out. So yes, welcome to the club. Okay, we were talking last week about another one of those really irritating stories that I think it was in the Times, this one, where they were talking about the high cost of EV charging and how it was so much more than running a petrol car, but then failed to admit that quite a lot of people will charge at home. So we've had loads of comments in about that, people wanting to let us know how much they're charging for, which is great. But also, interestingly, we had quite a lot in from people who aren't charging at home, because this is the genuine question is, it is more challenging, and we do know that it is more expensive if you can't charge at home. So let me go to a couple of those. We've got Dan, Bracken, Neil, who has sent an email in. So Dan says he has a 2023 MG4 Trophy, doesn't have off-street parking, so only charges using public chargers. It's a Motability car though, so I get BP Pulse membership included. When I could only use BP chargers, it costs 69 pence on an ultra rapid, 63 pence per kilowatt on a 50 kilowatt, and 44 pence on a 7 kilowatt, and that was with the 20% members discount. But now Tesla have opened their chargers in Derby. He's paying £8.99 a month membership. There are the super fast 150 kilowatt chargers in Derby shopping centre car park, where you get a free 20-minute parking, and it costs 37 pence per kilowatt hour. So it's definitely not the sort of the prices we're used to at home, but it is doable, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that I think my sums were, if it's below kind of 65, 70p per kilowatt, it's still cheaper than an equivalent petrol or diesel car. So yeah, he's going to be saving a decent amount of money by going to that Tesla thing. And that is cheap, isn't it? 44p per kilowatt for rapid charging.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and then we've had another one on YouTube from Ray Amos 1398, who's had an Ioniq 5 for 3 years and doesn't have a home charger, uses a mix of charging sources. Because of the wildly different prices and range differences over the course of the year, it's hard to give solid overall costs. But In winter, when the range is down to 180 miles, it's anywhere from 15p to 31p per mile. In the summer, when I'm averaging 250 miles of range, that drops to 11p and 22p per mile, respectively. But Rhea Moss goes on to say, for me, it can be significantly more expensive to run. And that's what is far and away already the most expensive car that I've owned. But when I eventually do move house, I will have a charger, and then I will become one of the smugs bragging about how much cheaper it is to charge at home. So yeah, it is more expensive. But Tom, I don't know if you want to take some of these next ones that we had in. We had people just talking to us about what you think you're running your cars for, and we've had some fantastically low figures per mile, haven't we?
Yeah, so Bracken Dog 10, cost of running our Model Y for a year, used 1,744 kilowatt hours, about 7,000 miles worth.
Mm-hmm.
So he reckons it's about 5p a mile, looking at all his sums. And then he's got solar and everything else, but the petrol car he reckons would have been about 13p a mile.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a decent saving there. Gary Wild 6171, I have a Polestar dual motor, one of the least efficient cars on the road, exclusively charge off peak at 7p per kilowatt hours. Motorway driving cost me 2.4 pence per mile to run. So there are some cheap prices there, aren't there?
Yeah, this is a good one. Ray Jones 9231, mainly charges at home, have saved £1,450 over the year compared with my Jaguar XF diesel. My EV is approximately 2p a mile. Lots of people coming in at around that figure of 2p per mile. And of course, lots of people actually, interestingly now, using solar top-ups, which is, as you say, brings it down to nothing in some cases. Right. Vicky, anything caught your eye? We were talking about car names last week.
Yes.
We were talking about this because we didn't like the Leap Motors name. What was it? T03?
T08. No, T03, isn't it?
T03. And so and then we just started, I was telling everybody how we've renamed cars here because we didn't like the BZ whatever it is, so we called that car the Barry, and the Honda ENY whatever that is, and we now call that the Ernie.
It's a terrible name, isn't it?
It's a terrible name. I can't remember it. So with a couple of messages in about car names.
Yeah, we've had one from Nazgul Badger. That's a good name.
Good name.
We've just picked up our new Honda ENY1. It's catchy, isn't it? We were struggling for a name for it, so I came up with Ferris, after Ferris Bueller's Day Off, everybody's favourite film, obviously, if you like cars. And the teacher says, anyone? Anyone? Made me giggle. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a terrible name, ENY1, isn't it? So, yeah. And also, so the next one, Richard Gore. We rename our Kia Soul Marvin, as in Marvin Gaye, the soul singer.
I like that. That made me smile. And then quite a lot of people saying that they agreed with the fact that we didn't like TO3, but actually, if you turn the 3 on its size, it can be the Leap Motors Dom. So it could have been named after you, Tom. Do you get what I mean?
I'm sure it is, yeah.
Turn it on its side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, some people said it looked like toe.
The toe.
Like, some people have registration numbers and they have a 3 as the E. Or a bit like Tesla have done, I suppose, with trying to spell sexy in their juvenile way with the Model 3. That would be toe. But I'm not sure you'd want to call a car the toe, would you?
No, you wouldn't. I still think they should have called it the Frog. The Leap Frog. Or the Leap 29, which I know I said last week. But did you get that? Leap 29?
Yeah.
Only because I listened to the podcast. Yeah.
Was it not as smart as I
thought
thought
it was? What's she talking about?
God, I thought I was being really clever. Oh. Okay, we always love a thank you at the podcast. So we've got a thank you this week. So let's hear what Niall F., who is a bit of a regular, I think, Niall, aren't you, has messaged in to say on the subject of thank yous. A few months ago, I asked for some advice into buying our first used EV. At the time, we were looking at the Leaf, the Ioniq and the e-Golf. Oh, I remember this one. Do you remember this, Tom?
Yeah.
Well, we bought an e-Golf and we're absolutely delighted with the car so far. Thanks to the Electrifying team for sharing their views and for the excellent content on the channel each week. Oh, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. So somebody followed our advice, Tom.
I know. I've kind of forgotten about the e-Golf. I don't think I've ever driven one. I must have a look around in the used market. I don't think I have.
You have never driven an e-Golf?
I don't think I have, no. Not like I remember.
It's a really good car, the e-Golf.
Yeah.
It's really good. Yeah.
Would you? Okay, here's a question. Would you rather have a used e-Golf or a used ID3?
Oh, I'd probably do ID3 because of the range, if I'm honest, but that's because I have quite a high mileage lifestyle, and I know that the Golf doesn't have the best real world range. But I don't know if the Volkswagen will like me for saying this, but I sort of preferred the way the e-Golf drove to the ID3. It was a really lovely car to drive, and so if you don't need the longer range and faster charging and all of that, it was a great car. Really good used buy, definitely.
Okay. Okay, and then on the subject of apps, so Tom, I think this is probably one directed at you, because I know you love an app. So Mike was saying, Vicky, I don't know if you listened to last week's podcast, he basically has an app to tell him when his fridge is open or closed and what the temperature is.
Yes. I did hear that.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with that. But Isle Waterfall 6993 has said, when it comes to apps, I think perhaps my toilet having an app could be classed as pretty strange. This is like blew my mind. You've got to love it when your toilet refuses to flush till it gets a software update.
Oh my goodness.
I'm guessing you're not going to have one of these anytime soon, Ginny.
God, no. Definitely not.
It's too much hassle. Well, actually, I've got a similar. Well, it's not the toilet, thankfully. That sounds insane. And I think the fridges are a terrible idea as well. I don't want my fridge to order food for me or tell me. It's just awful. But I do have a robot lawnmower, and that has an app. And the lawnmower has decided, at really, unfortunate moment, to just stop working, and I cannot get it to reconnect to the app, and it's kind of just completely it's not mowing the lawn, and the lawn's going mad, and now I have a very nice ornamental lawnmower that sits in the corner of the garden. And,
is it a Honda?
and sort of no, it's a Flymo. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that I think we can fix it, but I think it might just need an update. So now I have to plug my lawnmower into my laptop. And I mean, life just feels too short for this, to be honest. It's a bit like,
As somebody who spent the first hour of today desperately trying to download some software and an app to stop my stupid webcam camera from going into autofocus, only to be told it doesn't work on a Mac, I completely relate to that.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. I asked about a Honda because my dad has a Honda robot lawnmower. He's had it for 8 years.
I hear they're very good, yeah.
It's brilliant, but he went on to buy some new blades for it and just Googled Honda Mimo. And it came up with the government thing saying it's subject to a recall. So he phoned Honda, who said, we're not really sure about this. What's the serial number? He said, well, how do I find the serial number? They said, it's on the handle. He said, it's a robot lawnmower. It doesn't have a handle, which kind of threw them completely out. So they said, I'll ring your dealer. So he rang the dealer and they said, well, yeah, we don't really fix any of these. He said, why? He said, well, they don't go wrong. He said, I know, but it's subject to a recall. So he's had to go through all this customer service and he still doesn't know what's going on because he doesn't know if it's going to the recall that's going to go mad and take over the world or choose through his fence.
Ours has been great for years.
Children.
Ours has been really good. And then it's just literally decided to it's just gone on strike. So I think it just needs to be plugged into something. I don't know. So we'll have to figure that out. The joys.
I'm going to bring things to a close because as always, we've really not
gone off the tangent as well.
Half hour. Yeah, we have. Just with one final message from Available Publicly 39 on the subject of useless apps. The VWID one. Full of pointless rubbish like names of your nearest service centre. It won't even lock or unlock the car. Almost useless. And then an added dreadful. So there you go. Okay. And on that point, I think we shall leave it. Thanks for being with us. As always, if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe if you're watching on YouTube and switch your notifications on because we have one of these episodes dropping every week, of course, with a load of other videos. And if you're listening on your streaming service, again, please do subscribe and share if you can and drop us a comment because it all helps. And we want to make loads of these going forwards. So thanks for listening. It's been the Kilowatt Half Hour. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye.